Hi, you've just tuned into the Creative Life Podcast, the place where creatives go for inspiration. My name is Jessica. I'm a creative coach and the host of this podcast. And today I am joined by Dr. Gibbons, and we're actually going to debrief an episode with Ben Lane. So, Dr. Gibbons, go ahead and tell us all about Ben Lane, and I can't wait to dive into this episode with you.
Yes, thank you, Jessica. Ben Lane, this really took me by surprise. He is an animator and creates a story artist, and for over 25 years, he has worked on shows such as The Simpsons, Family Guy, Frozen Fever, and Zootopia. Quite an impressive resume. Something in there has touched just about any household in the United States. And he initially, well, you'll have to share how you guys met. He works as a sketch artist on many levels. So I can't wait to dive into this.
Absolutely. And if you haven't actually seen the last episode, I did bring the sketch with me today. So this is myself and my daughter, and Ben Lane sketched us. And it was pretty amazing. So I saw him at this institution, or it's a business called Vallis Pumpkin Patch. Think of a amusement park on steroids, but it's all about fall harvest and pumpkins and sunflowers. And it's a pretty big thing in Nebraska.
Yes.
Well, anyways, I saw him there, and it was just a really amazing experience with him. And I saw him on Instagram. When I started scrolling, I said, wait, hold on. No, look at his career. I started just, you always have to deep dive on someone on Instagram. And so I went to his website, and I said, absolutely, Dr. Gibbons, we have to have him on our show. Started seeing all of his history and his just career. It's just so expansive. I said, we already know. We have to get him on the show. So let's go ahead and let's dive in. What was your number one takeaway from that episode?
Well, so if I'm going to pick one, I guess I'll start with one. How about that?
Yes, start with one, and we'll end like at number 5. So let's just start with one.
I'm going to combine two. He said to know your style and how you work. And I thought of that again when he stated, when we asked him the capstone question, and his one rule to live by was to be yourself. And when he moved to LA to work on The Simpsons, he said that he worked in a room full of animators who were quirky and had different interests that may seem unusual to others, but they weren't ashamed. Part of that, be yourself, knowing your style. And I think that's just, there can be some fear in that, because there will be the people who say, oh, that's weird. Oh, you're one of those. There's going to be those people no matter what you do. But I loved that it was almost kind of like, I don't know if you've heard the phrase before, and I don't even know where it came from, embrace your weird. If there's something that you're into, and it's something that you're good with, and something that feels right and it inspires you, that's your thing. And it doesn't really matter what others think about that, really, if you get down to it. I don't know, insecurities, of course, can always flare up, but I loved that he mentioned noticing the oddities of sorts in others, but they were unashamed. And how great if we were all to live so fearlessly.
Absolutely. So I'll just build on what you're sharing with us. So just to really go into it a lot more, when you're thinking about, okay, this is who I am and it's reflected in my art, it's in my own artistic style, but also part of having your own artistic style is also being comfortable in who you are and being confident enough to show up in the fullness of who you are. And so you mentioned a couple of different words just to dive in. You talked about fear, you talked about insecurity, and you also talked about how when he went into the room, the environment. And perhaps this is something that we haven't really gotten into in other episodes on the couch, but your environment does matter. And the environments that you choose to enter, it can influence you. You know, you think about mirror neurons, and you can go all the way into the sciencey part of that. But it is true. How you show up, the environment you're showing up into. So for our creatives at home, let's say that they don't have a creative environment to enter into, and they still want to have their own style, they still want to show up as their authentic self. How do you create an environment that supports that if you don't have it already?
It can be some of the simplest things. One of the first things I think of is music or sound in general. You know, whether it's a particular genre, a particular band, whether you get in the zone with pink sound or brown noise. I mean, you could really geek out on the science with that.
I worked to pink noise.
Yes.
So, yes, yes.
So there's, so that's one of the first things that I think of. If you love having the windows open, or if you love the scent of a Christmas tree, even if it's June, light your Christmas candle, open your window, play whatever music it is, creating just what soothes you, what energizes you. And you know, it's not for someone else. You're creating the environment that you love.
Yes, absolutely. And I also think that while creating the environment that you love, but you can also bring the environment that you love. Because one of the things that he talked about, Ben Lane, was that he had notebooks and sketchbooks everywhere. Even to the studio when he came here, he had one. So it was always with him. And I thought, like, wow, he's bringing his environment everywhere he goes. Because maybe he's creative as he's waiting for the next meeting or waiting for his meal, however that shows up. And he said, I have tubs of notebooks, of sketchbooks. So his environment is portable, which I think is really amazing. And then what you're highlighting is the senses, the sensory perception of environment, of how to trigger that. Maybe things that make you feel calm, make you feel, it removes the blockers, and even just the sound, the noise that you brought up. But also smell is very strong for memory and feeling safe. If that smell makes you feel safe, chances are you're going to be able to go more into your creative. And I don't want to have a spoiler alert for our listeners, but we actually have a breathwork coach coming up soon. So I have a feeling we'll probably dig into this a little bit more with her about grounding and removing those blockers. But just as you're saying, you know, the environment matters. He carries the environment with him. But when he also entered the environment, he understood the culture there, and that, oh, it's safe for me to be weird. It's safe for me to be unique. And one of the other things I wanted to talk to you about was imperfection and perfection. It was a question that you brought up to him. And it was really cool because his answer, he talked about circles, like just the most basic of shapes. He's like, but I just can't get that shape right. You know, it's just this, it was just so humanizing. I just felt like so warm when he said that, because you can look at someone's accolades, and I think that's the trap of comparison, right? You can say, oh my goodness, they have all these things, and I just do this, and I only have that. But when they humanize it, like, hey, I'm still growing. Like, I still have my little nuances, my little ticks. And it was just so humanizing. How about you? How did you feel when he shared that?
I loved that he can do this amazing things with sketching. I mean, that right there, that you and your daughter, that's amazing. But a circle still gets him to this day. And I'm not saying I could draw a perfect circle. But not only was it humanizing, but it kind of went along with the whole embracing your uniqueness, embracing the imperfection. It's like, well, who really would I expect an animator to be able to make a perfect circle? I'd be surprised if anyone could make a perfect 360-degree circle. I don't know, maybe there's many people who can, but he had no qualms about saying, this is my thing and it bugs me and I will do it a million times over and I still can't get the perfect circle. There were no airs about him, you know? He's a professional. He's very talented. He's accomplished. There are people who, when they reach that level, they may be afraid for people to know what they can't do, to be found out. It's a circle, and it's what every character of The Simpsons need. They need two of them for their eyes.
Right.
He's confounded by it. So I love that. And sure, vulnerability, but I think it was just comfort in his own skin.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yes. And I mean, I have that too. I remember, so I do a lot of academic writing and research writing, and I just remember getting a paperback and it had so much red on it. I'm like, your ideas are good, your research is good. I was like, well, what are all these little red things happening over here? And I realized, hey, you know what? You can partner with an editor. And I do that now. I partner with an editor. I get all of my ideas out. I do all the research. I do all the connecting. But you know what? When it comes to those finer little details, did I do APA 7 correctly? Guess what? I have an editor to help me with that. Before we publish something, before we share something, I have someone that I can partner with, and I don't need to be perfect at it. I just need to be effective, efficient, confident. I know and have vision. So I have a vision for what the final product will look like. And guess what? There's people along the way to help you get there. And I don't have to be perfect at every single exact thing, because there are people whose life is copy editing, and that's how they make their bread and butter. They just need you to be creative and get it on the page. So I love that. And I think that you are right. Sometimes you can get to a level where vulnerability almost feels like a target. And so I won't belittle that, because there are certainly industries or even just organizations in which it is toxic to be vulnerable. But that also goes back to your environment, the places that you choose to enter, the places that you have to enter, and then still being your authentic self. All right, so let's talk about this for some of our viewers at home that want to get back to this or start. And Ben, he gave us some really good advice about education, online, classes, finding community. If you were coaching someone and you said, hey, I work 9 to 5, or maybe I work nights and weekends, like I have to earn a living, but there's this creative part of me that's just yearning to get out, and I have a budget. How can I pour into myself in this way? What kind of strategy or advice would you give them?
Well, something that Ben mentioned that I thought was interesting was when he was saying that he started sketching by copying. His older brother was a sketch artist, and he would copy what he did. He would, maybe add things to it. He referenced Garfield, a comic strip, and he would draw that. And, of course, being your authentic self is necessary, but everyone starts with something, and everyone is influenced by something. So if you're copying and you're not selling it or taking credit for it, that's how we learn. And so think on what you like. Who is someone that you love seeing their work? You seek them out. You you go down that rabbit hole on the internet, searching anything and everything from them. How is a way that you can copy? What's something that you can start? And then maybe who are other creatives in whatever genre that is, who are also influenced by that person, and exploring even more different directions where you can go. So not only do you already know what you like, you're discovering more of your style and developing that. And oh, well, I know this person was influenced by this. I love how they used this technique. Let me try that. Allowing yourself to, when you were a child and you were given a paintbrush, you probably weren't worried about perfection. And especially if it was your first time, you were just all over the paper because that's fun, you know? And let yourself go wild. You've set up your own little environment. It's just you. You're not at your 9 to 5. Let yourself go wild. And maybe it looks terrible. Maybe it sounds terrible. You stepped into the arena and you're letting yourself be a kid and to have fun with it. Getting too caught up in the perfectionism, that can really steal the joy from it. So keeping that in mind as you explore, there will always be, you had mentioned in our episode with Ben, you know, little ticks. Everyone has their own little thing that gets to them. You know, you'll have something that, well, that's a mess, but oh well. And then there will be some little something and it may eat at you or grind at you. But stepping in, that's the first place to start. And see who inspires you.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's really good advice. And just to unpack it a little bit more. So you're talking about one, stepping in, but you're also, he really talked about copying. But when I think about early education and I think about music, I mean, you're playing things someone else has played before, you're writing, and you're looking at pictures, or you're learning photography, you're learning different angles, you're learning about lighting, you're learning about color theory. So when I think about sketching, you're really learning technique. But beyond technique, if you want to, if you're open to it, you can also ask yourself, how does it feel? How does it feel drawing in this style? How does it feel with this narrative? Because he also talked about narrative in his style and why he likes to work on the things that he likes to work on, and why sketching, you know, he talked about digital storyboarding versus some art when you think of different animation styles that may take a couple of days to do. But he said, I don't know, that moves too slow for me. I actually like to storyboard it. I like to move faster. I like the narrative. So you can see that he's thought about how this work makes him feel. And so if you're sketching, if you're copying, I mean, you might see a different art style. It's like, oh, this is just so laborious. You have no joy. But then maybe you go over to another art style and you're copying it and you find yourself smiling a little bit. You find yourself thinking like, oh, I could add this here, or I could add this color here. It starts taking you into a different place. And so I appreciate what you're saying and also what you're sharing with our creatives, because maybe you don't have to invest so much in the beginning. Maybe it is finding online resources and just simply starting where you can, and then you can go further after that, after you've decided, I like this, I don't like this, but it's getting to know yourself.
Right. And because he did say, know your style and how you work. If someone is wants to dive back into playing piano, maybe you enjoy being like you're the person at the piano bar and you're leading this sing along, and you love playing all those Billy Joel songs and everything. You're Elton John, or maybe you're someone who looks at a monster of a piece from Rachmaninoff, and it takes you an hour just to perfect a measure, but you're energized by the grind. Two very different ways and styles of enjoying the work. And you never know where it's going to take you.
No, you absolutely don't. And it was really interesting about his career. So he talked about, well, he was in high school and he was doodling and people caught on to his doodles and it just sparked something in him like, okay, well, maybe this is something I can do. And he went to university. He was thinking more so, okay, maybe the book illustrations, that route, with children's books and things of that nature. But he was also open to opportunity, and he was also open to putting himself out there because he talked about, oh, I heard that Disney had recruits coming to universities, and his mother-in-law is like, oh, I know a guy who works for, I don't know if you heard of it before, but The Simpsons, but he was really open to opportunities as well. And he did mention that he has bounced around in his career, that he was at Simpsons, he kind of left and he came back. So he was open throughout his 25 years to saying, I'll try that. And even now opening up a business with his son and doing caricatures at Vala's Pumpkin Patch, I'll be open to that. But it still honored what he likes to do because he still chose a quick art fashion. So it's not a sketch that takes hours and hours and hours. It's something that can be done in a fraction of that time. But he also gets to connect, it tells a story, and it's just so interesting how his career has progressed. And if there was something that I could give to our creatives at home, is to learn from Ben and say yes to some opportunities. And I want to ask you something, Dr. Gibbons. So let's say there's lots of opportunities. You're on the internet, you're looking through the newspaper, wherever you're looking to find your people. Sometimes industry papers is where you can really find the opportunities. But let's say, okay, I'm starting, but how do we even say yes? Like, I've never said yes to this before. And it's kind of scary when you put yourself out there, because you're putting yourself out there. Maybe it's a yes, maybe it's rejection. I think of Adam from Edge of the Universe, how he saw a Craigslist ad and he ended up on the film set of Lucky. He's like, I don't even know if this is real. Like, what kind of Craigslist, But how do we do that? How do we say yes to an opportunity?
It does take a little bit of courage, especially if it's Craigslist. I love that you referenced that. That's such a good question because any of it can be scary, whether you're diving into joining an online community or you found out there is a place 2 miles down the road that there are people who might be doing exactly what you want to be doing. Or you found out there is a new class that's being piloted at the community college and the deadline is tomorrow. What am I going to do? And I think one of the first things to acknowledge is, what's the fear? What is my specific fear? Am I fearful that if I do this online thing, then maybe some of my material might be ripped off? Am I afraid that if I go to this workshop that's 2 miles down the street, that they are amazingly talented and what was I even thinking stepping into the room? And so let's say we take the workshop example, and the thing is, there will be tremendous talents in there, but there's going to be one of those tremendous talents who can't draw a circle. you know? And every single one of those tremendous talents started maybe even by copying, you know? Because no one starts amazing.
No.
No one lands at the top their very first time doing something. And maybe reminding yourself of the humanity of the greats.
Absolutely.
You know, you've put someone on this pedestal and they have tremendous imperfections, just as you do.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that's wonderful advice. I can't believe it, but we're already at the close of our episode. So thank you so much for debriefing our episode with Ben Lane. And I think that what you're leaving us with is this idea that, hey, you're going to enter into circles. You're going to have opportunities to say yes. And of course, that little nagging feeling inside is going to say, but you, but you. And to that voice, you're going to say, and yes, I can. And yes, I can try this thing. And yes, I can go to this workshop. And yes, I can just download this from the internet and just start doodling at home in this notebook. And yes, I can take my art with me. And yes, I can believe in myself. So I think that's beautiful that you left that with us. And for you at home, I hope that this episode has resonated with you. And if so, please make sure you like us, share, subscribe, send us reviews. That helps the algorithm. Share us with other people. And if you're on social media, we're on Instagram at the Creative Life Podcast Omaha. We love to connect with you online. We have giveaways and we have behind the scene tours and it's all kinds of fun things that we're doing in the artist community. And with that, Dr. Gibbons, can you please sign us off?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jessica. And I love how you rounded out that that last response. That was beautifully said.
Thank you.
You're so good at that. Well, thank you for tuning in to the Creative Life Podcast, where creatives go for inspiration.